Is there one that you would like to add or one that you see re-ranked?
Nick, I think you hit all the high points.
Okay. Last segment I wanted to do is which head coach in the Power 5 has the most to prove. But before we do that, let's do one more read. Getting married this year? Organizing a corporate function that needs all the trimmings? Who is Mike Jones Event Planning? Who? Mike Jones. Who? Mike Jones. Who is Mike Jones Event Planning? Is your premier event coordinating and concierge firm. Mike Jones Event Planning coordinates and caters events of all sizes, specializing in graduation parties, theme weddings, bar mitzvahs, quinceañeras, and Kwanzaa. Who is Mike Jones Event Planning? Wants to make sure that your event goes off without a hitch, and that means chopped and screwed planning ahead now. So put them H-Town hussies on Front Street. Remember, back then, they didn't want you. Now you hot, they all on you. To make all your dreams come true, call Who is Mike Jones Event Planning. Who? Mike Jones. Who? Mike Jones at 281-330-8004. My thanks to my friends at Who is Mike Jones Event Planning. Give them a call for all your event planning needs. Ron, let's start with you. Who do you think Mike Jones is going to have to prove the most of the college football coaches today in the Power 5?
The one that I think is going to have to prove the most, and this is because he saved the hardest thing for last, is what for you say for the upcoming season?
Yes, for this 2020 season.
It would be
the Mulligan season.
For me, it would be Will Muschamp.
Ooh.
Yeah, Will Muschamp has he showed up, and he I don't say he didn't salvage, but he brought a team to a 500 record. Next year, he won a bowl game, and then after that, he has absolutely floundered against the competition, showing that he might not be as good a coach, especially like within the SEC as we thought he would be. And I know last year that he had a few issues at quarterback, but this year he is only going to face SEC opponents. And if he goes in there and he takes, I don't know what he has, like a 400 win percentage against the rest of the conference, and plays the rest of the season like that, I don't know how you could keep him. That's I mean, I say how you can keep him. His security will be much less than it was, say, if he were able to run the table, or if he had non-conference games where he could deflect and say, that's okay. We beat an ACC team. We beat somebody from the Pac-10 or Pac-12. Doesn't have that. All he has is the people that he has on his schedule, and they're the teams that he is least prepared to fight.
I see what you're doing there, and I appreciate it. Because, he had to win against Georgia last year, where they jacked him for their hedges in Sanford in a game that was trash, but they won, right? Also had a losing season. They they get stomped on by Clemson in the state championship game, as long as Dabo Swinney's there, the Palmetto Bowl. And then you're asking them to do great things in the SEC East with their conference rival being Texas A&M, which fits. But my favorite thing right now about Will Muschamp is the wins that he is getting that we're never going to acknowledge. So he picked up a 5-star quarterback over the weekend, right? Which, South Carolina, what? Will Muschamp's a defensive coach. That's what I said. But him and Bobo apparently got it going on. The other part about this is interesting. So there's a cat by the name of Jordan Birch. Jordan Birch was a top defensive line recruit in the 2020 class. Jordan Birch said that he was going to make his announcement for who he was going to commit and sign with during the early signing period, which is in December. The early signing period came and went, and no announcement was made by Jordan Birch. Many people still thought South Carolina was going to be it, but the man took visits to Clemson, took visits to LSU, took visits to Georgia. So couldn't nobody call it for the next couple of months, because if you miss that window of early signing, you got to wait till February. February comes. A signing day event is held for Jordan Birch. Jordan Birch had just come back from South Carolina on a recruiting visit. Many people thought, hey, he's going to announce South Carolina. Will Muschamp shows up with his players and his kid sitting in the front row. Jordan Birch gets up, says he would like to thank everybody for being here, sits back down. No announcement is made. Will Muschamp, who can't really comment on it, is trying to comment around it by going, I don't know what the hell is going on. 3 days later, Jordan Birch signs with South Carolina. All to say, Will Muschamp has been recruiting his butt off, beat Georgia, and he's still got so much to prove at South Carolina, which I think is the best. So I applaud this pick. Because he's actually getting wins. He's just not getting wins that anybody matters. They don't matter to anybody. All right, I'm going to come back with this. In this Mulligan, this is Tom Herman's most talented Texas football team. They got a tailback in the backfield that might be third on the depth chart. His name is Bijan Robinson. He averaged 7.1 yards per carry last year at, what was it? Something Catholic, I forget. I think it's San Jacinto in Arizona. One of the best players in all the country. He's got Tarek Black grad transferring from Michigan. He's got Brendan Schoolard grad transferring from Oregon / Arizona. He's got Sam Ellinger in the Magic year. He brought in Mike Yursich, who was doing great things with Mason Rudolph at Oklahoma State, coming from Ohio State. He fired his defensive coordinator, reshuffled the staff, brought in Chris Ash, who was the defensive coordinator at Ohio State when he was the offensive coordinator at Ohio State, still get beat by Oklahoma. But he better win this year. Otherwise, I can't see him coming back for next year. And then Kirby Smart at Georgia, you're right there. Store brand Cam Newton, Jamie Newman might be your starting quarterback. It might be JT Daniels. We'll see. But you brought in Todd Monken because you figured out that murder ball is no longer sustainable. You can't play murder ball and win national championships, right? You can play murder ball and beat Florida, though, which is also why I get to Dan Mullen and Florida, because Dan Mullen has done everything but beat Georgia. Cannot win the world's largest cocktail party. And then you can't win the world's largest cocktail party, you can't play for an SEC championship game, right? You can't play for a college football playoff national championship semifinal, let alone the game itself. So you got things to do with Kyle Trask. But the dude that I'm looking at hardest right now, the state of Louisiana must play football. Then watched his best player walk out yesterday, is going to start a dude that got there in 2017 and ain't been able to see the field because Joe Burrow comes in and takes your job after passing 58% in 2018. Also brings in Bo Pelini because you lose Dave Aranda. You lost the guy that modernized your offense to Carolina in Joe Brady. You also have one of the better recruiting classes in all of college football. So you better prove that you are worth the $9 million that you're getting paid to be the head coach at LSU now. Oh, and by the way, there's a book coming out about Ed Orgeron in October that is the sequel to the one in which he rips off his shirt in front of Ole Miss players and says, who wants to smoke? Who thinks that they're better than me? Let's fight right now. A grown-ass man said to a bunch of children in Oxford, Mississippi.
Yeah, that's the kind of fire I want.
Plus,
that's how I want to be.
The coup de grace to me, Ed Orgeron is a recently divorced single man, which means that Ed Orgeron is now doing whatever Ed Orgeron wants to do for as long as Ed Orgeron wants to do it. On top of being the defending national champ and the reigning Eddie Robinson Coach of the Year. Ed Orgeron might actually go brawly on us. Like, he might reach another level of saying, but he also might flame out. I can't wait to see how this goes. Ron, how do you feel about that?
You don't think that he is? You don't think that he could be excused for having a blue season? That after all the accolades and all the context, that he could go 500, maybe sub 500, and it would be okay. We'll just see everybody next year.
No, because my read on LSU fans is they won't suffer that. That's my read on them. Like he'll go 5-5 and they'll start talking about firing him. But then again, I would say the same thing about Alabama, which is what you want to be. Like Nick Saban goes 5-5 this year, they're gonna talk about firing him.
Oh yeah, he might have lost the magic then.
Yeah, that's gonna be the thinking. You're not gonna get a mulligan. And the way that say Gary Patterson at Texas Christian can go 5-7. You can't go 5-7 at LSU. It's football at LSU. It's nothing else. It's so football at LSU that we don't even care that Will Wade was wiretapped by the feds. We let him keep his job. What? It's so football at LSU that their FBS transfers come from North Dakota State with an All-American Jabril Cox and an offensive lineman from Harvard because they don't care where they come from as long as you can play. They're thin at defensive back. They got Elias Reeks, Cordell Flott probably going to start, Derek Stingley Jr. and Jacoby Stevens. But after that, they're in a world of hurt. You're going to have to coach your butt off. Mickey Joseph's going to have to be that dude. Okay? Corey Raymond going to have to be that dude. And yet, I don't know if they got it to go. It's going to be a good time, though. Just as this has been a good time. Ron, thank you for doing this on your birthday. I appreciate it.
That's the greatest gift anybody's ever given me. Thank you.
Nah, man, this is fun.
Even greater than life itself.
If you like the show, please leave a comment on the show. If you like the channel, like and subscribe to the channel. You can download the show on the RJ Young Show podcast, wherever you get your podcast. Live stream 3 days a week, 3 o'clock in the afternoon is where most people like to catch it. So if you're here at 3 o'clock in the afternoon on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, it's going to be a good time. Going to do this for about between a half an hour and an hour. Went over an hour here because, well, it's my best friend, and I love talking to my best friend. Again, subscribe. Tell your friends. I'll see you guys probably in like an hour because I upload 4 times a day anyway. Deuces.